We were halfway through our so-called romantic vacation when my wife, Madison, and her sister Claire decided it'd be hilarious to leave me stranded in a tiny, no-name town in southern Italy after an argument. They threw my backpack out of the rental, laughed like hyenas, and sped off, tires kicking up the dirt road behind them. Let's see how he gets back. Claire cackled from the passenger seat, and Madison didn't even glance back. That's the moment. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Not just wrong, broken. Not just broken, shattered. The kind of broken that no counseling, no, let's talk it through, no late-night apologies over wine could fix. And here's the part that stings the most. I wasn't even mad at first. I was stunned. Standing there in that dusty alley in Positano with a dead phone, no cash, and the lingering echo of Madison's laughter bouncing off the stone walls, I just stood still. I stood still for a long time. I always thought betrayal would feel like fire, rage, and fury. But no, it's cold. It's ice in your veins. It's looking at the woman you married and realizing you never really knew her. I should have seen it. The signs. The late-night phone calls that got suddenly too quiet when I walked in. The way she started locking her phone when for years she never bothered. The sudden obsession with girls-only trips and a brand-new wardrobe she insisted she bought on sale, but the tags told a different story. This trip to Europe was supposed to fix us. Her idea, actually. Let's reconnect, she said with those glassy, manipulative eyes. I was stupid enough to think she meant it. Instead, I got ditched like a nobody. Like a piece of trash. And you know what I did? I didn't chase them. I found a way to survive. I worked in a cafe owned by this old Greek guy named Theo who didn't ask questions. He saw the rage in my eyes and handed me an apron. I slept in the back room, ate leftover bread and olives, and learned to let go. And here's where it gets wild. For weeks later, just as I was finally breathing without her name punching me in the ribs, Madison tracked me down. She found me in Greece. In a coastal village so quiet, you could hear your own regrets. She pulled up in some shiny rental, stepped out in heels way too high for the cobblestone streets, and had the nerve to smirk. I thought you'd be back by now, she said like it was some kind of joke. Like this was a game. My jaw clenched. My fist stayed at my sides. You left me. It was a joke, she shrugged. You're the one who turned it into a drama. You think disappearing makes you a victim? Victim? That's when I saw it. Clear as daylight. She didn't feel bad. Not one damn bit. She wasn't scared for me. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't even curious where I'd been. Madison wasn't here to apologize. She was here to reel me back in. And as she stepped closer, I smelled that cologne. Not mine. Not even close. I stared at her. She didn't flinch. You seeing someone? I asked, calm, like I was ordering coffee. She blinked. 1, 2, 3 times. Then laughed. You're one to talk. You vanished. I didn't have to hear more. I knew. The puzzle clicked. I wasn't just abandoned. I was replaced. Suddenly, the fog cleared. Every red flag. Every lie. Every time she turned her back in bed and whispered on her phone, thinking I was asleep. Every fake girl's trip. Every time I held her hand and she pulled away like it burned. She cheated. Probably more than once. And she didn't regret it. She enjoyed it. I was just the backup plan in case her little adventures didn't work out. That night, I stood alone on the balcony of the small stone flat I was staying in, the Aegean Sea whispering below. She was downstairs, probably spinning some manipulative tale to the locals, flashing her teeth like nothing happened. But something did happen. And this story? It wasn't going to end the way she expected. Because the man she left behind in Italy never came back. She stayed the night. Not with me. I let her sleep on the damn couch, though even that was too generous. She had the audacity to complain about the smell of olive oil and dust in the air, like she wasn't the one who dragged her designer luggage into my piece and pissed all over it. In the morning, she stood in the kitchen like nothing happened, wearing my old hoodie, making herself coffee, the same way she used to back home. Except back home, she didn't reek of someone else's body spray. You're really gonna act like everything's fine? I asked, leaning against the doorframe, watching her stir the sugar in. She didn't even look up. I came to find you. Isn't that what you wanted? My mouth went dry. What I wanted, I said slowly, was to be married to someone who wouldn't leave me in a foreign country like I was nothing. Finally, she looked at me. Her eyes? No guilt. Just boredom. You're being dramatic. Claire and I were just messing around. You always take things so personally. You abandoned me. And yet here you are. Alive. Thriving, apparently. That smirk again. That twisted, Smug little curl of her lip that used to be sexy but now made my blood boil. Who is he? I asked. What? The guy. The one whose cologne you're marinated in. She scoffed, rolled her eyes. Classic deflection. There's no guy. You're paranoid. But then she turned away too fast. Grabbed her cup like it weighed 100 pounds. And that was all I needed. You're lying, I said. Again. You've always been insecure, Nathan. Boom. There it was. My name, dropped like a curse, like I was the problem. I walked out. Slammed the door. Didn't even put on shoes. I paced down the rocky trail to the beach, needing space, needing air. But mostly needing to not put my hands through a wall. I thought about everything. Our wedding. The first time she met my parents. The way she used to light up when I got home from work. I remembered that night we danced in the kitchen to old R&B, barefoot, half drunk, with pizza on the stove. Was any of that real? Or was it all just performance? When I came back, she was gone. Left a note. No apology. No tears. Just a damn note. I'll be at the hotel by the marina. Decide what you want. That line rattled in my head all day. Decide what I want? She blows up our marriage, humiliates me in another country, lies straight to my face, and now she's giving me the power? After stealing every ounce of it for years? I didn't go to the marina. I went to Theo. You look like you need a shot, he said, wiping down the bar. I nodded. He poured something brown, harsh, and full of fire. She come back for you? I nodded again. He grunted. Don't be stupid. Americans always forgive too easy. She cheated on me, I said quietly. He didn't blink. She'll do it again. They always do if you let them. There was no wisdom in his voice. No lecture. Just facts. Cold, brutal, and true. That night, I sat on my balcony, staring at her luggage still in the hallway. I hadn't touched it. I thought about throwing it in the sea. I thought about a lot of things. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Hey, Madison told me she found you. Just be careful. She's not who you think she is. I stared at the screen. No name. No explanation. But my gut clenched like a vice. I typed back. Who is this? No reply. I tried calling. It rang once. Then straight to voicemail. And that's when I realized something. There wasn't just one guy. There were probably more. Madison didn't make a mistake. She made a lifestyle out of betrayal. And I had just started digging into the truth. Because I wasn't going back. And I damn sure wasn't done. Not yet. The next morning, I was already at Theo's place before the sun finished rising. The old man nodded like he expected me. Maybe he saw the storm in my eyes before I even said a word. He slid a small espresso across the counter, thick and bitter, perfect for what I was about to do. I didn't sip it. I opened Madison's suitcase. I hadn't touched it before. Didn't want to. But now, I needed proof. Not just suspicions. Not just good feelings and that damn cologne. I unzipped the main pouch and started digging. Designer tops, high heels, makeup bag. Nothing. Then I opened the side compartment. And there it was. A sleek, black burner phone. Still on. Still active. Still buzzing every few seconds with messages. I didn't hesitate. I scrolled. The first one read. Miss you already. She doesn't deserve you. Another, that night in Rome. I can't stop thinking about it. Your mouth. Your hands. My God. And another, timestamped 2 days ago. You said you'd leave him. Why are you chasing him around Greece? I dropped the phone. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just a fling. This was a full-blown affair. She was telling someone, probably multiple someones, that she'd leave me. That I was disposable. That I was nothing but a stepping stone to her next thrill. And yet she had the nerve to show up here, acting like she wanted me back. I took pictures of the texts, sent them to myself, then powered the phone off and tossed it into the sea. It sank without a sound. The marina was quiet when I got there. Morning breeze in the air, tourists still sleeping, seagulls picking at yesterday's leftovers. I found her sipping a mimosa by the edge of the dock, legs crossed, phone in hand, sunglasses on like she was a damn celebrity. She looked up, smiled like she hadn't just ruined years of my life. You came, she said softly. Yeah, I said. Had to see it with my own eyes. See what? I pulled my phone out. Showed her the pictures. Her face stayed still for a second. Just a second. Then the crack started. She reached for her bag. I took a step back. Don't. What do you want me to say, Nathan? That I'm sorry? That I messed up? Fine. I'm sorry. I messed up. More than once. Silence. You told him you'd leave me. She didn't speak. You were going to let me rot in Italy while you ran off with him, weren't you? I didn't know if you'd come back. She snapped, standing now, voice rising. You always sulk when we fight. You shut down, and I was tired of it. So yeah, I went to someone who actually made me feel something. There it was. Raw. Unfiltered. The truth. I stared at her, feeling every ounce of rage, betrayal, heartbreak pour into my fists. But I didn't raise them. I didn't scream. I didn't curse. I laughed. And her face twisted. She hated that. I don't need to hit you, Madison. Life's already going to do that for me. You think you're better than me now? You think you're some saint because you played waiter for a month? No. I think I survived you. I turned. Started walking. She called after me, you're gonna regret this. I didn't look back. I got to Theo's. Packed my small bag. Grabbed my passport. Took the little cash I had. That night, I boarded a ferry to another island. New place. New air. And as it sailed off, I watched the coastline fade into the dark and felt something deep inside me finally breathe. I didn't cry. I didn't text her. I didn't tell anyone. But I knew this wasn't over. Because she still had secrets. And I was going to find every last one of them. 3 days passed. I didn't hear from her. Not a message. Not a call. Nothing. But the silence wasn't peace. It was the kind that hums before a storm. I could feel it in my gut, behind my eyes, like a headache that hadn't landed yet. Madison didn't go away. That woman never let anything go, especially something she thought belonged to her. I stayed at a cheap guest house in Naxos. Quiet place, run by an older couple who didn't ask questions. They gave me fresh bread in the mornings, and I'd sit by the window watching the fishermen leave before sunrise. It should have been peaceful, but I was wired, like a man waiting for a knock on the door that never came. And then it did. Not a knock. An envelope. No name, just slid under my door sometime around midnight. Inside, one photo. Madison. In a bed. With someone. I couldn't see the guy's face, but his arm had a very distinct tattoo, a snake around a dagger. I flipped the photo. On the back, one word. Athens. There was no cinder. But I knew exactly what this was. She was taunting me. Or maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was the guy. Or another one. Maybe this was all just the fallout of her burning through people like cigarettes. But it didn't matter. I packed my bag, bought a ferry ticket, and left that same night. Athens was hot. Loud. Alive in a way that made your skin buzz. I checked into a low-end hostel, the kind where no one knew your name, and everyone had a story they weren't telling. I fit right in. It took 2 days to find him. I asked around at bars, pretending I was just looking for a tattoo artist. Showed a blurry drawing of the snake dagger tattoo. Most shrugged. One guy leaned in close and whispered, that looks like Jace. American. Cocky. Talks too much. Jace. Of course his name was Jace. Found him at a rooftop party 2 blocks from the Acropolis. Shirtless. Tanned. Laughing loud, arm around a new girl. I waited. Watched. Then walked up. He didn't recognize me. Hey, I said. You Jace. He turned, still smiling. Depends who's asking. Madison's husband. The smile dropped. Fast. He backed up a step, bumping into a girl carrying a tray of drinks. Liquid splashed on his shoes, but he didn't even notice. I didn't know she was still, he started. Still married? Yeah, me neither. But it turns out vows don't mean sh*t to her. He held up his hands. Look, man, I didn't know. She said you'd left her. That you were done. That we were separated? Getting a divorce? All the classics. He nodded slowly. She tell you about Rome? His eyes flicked. So that was him. That was the night. That was a mistake, he muttered. She's crazy, man. I cut it off. I stared at him for a second, then nodded, and walked away. Because he wasn't the target. He was just another casualty. Another guy who bought the performance. Another body in her graveyard of lies. The next morning, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered. A woman's voice. Calm. Cold. You're Nathan, right? Who's this? I used to be Madison's friend. Until I caught her sleeping with my fiancé. Silence. You're not the only one, Nathan, she said. And if you want proof, I have a folder. Dates. Photos. Messages. All of it. My heart thudded once. Hard. Why now? I asked. Because I want her to rot too. She sent the location. A cafe in the Plaka district. Noon. I was there at 11. And the second I saw the flash drive she slid across the table, I knew I was about to see a version of Madison I hadn't even imagined. Not just a cheater, not just a liar. Something worse. And I wasn't angry anymore. I was ready. Back in my room, I stared at the flash drive for a long time. Like it was alive. Like the second I plugged it in, it had breathed poison into everything I thought I knew. I didn't hesitate. I slid it into my laptop and opened the folder. There were 27 files. Photos. Screenshots. Videos. Names I'd never heard before. Faces of men, some older, some barely out of college. Conversations between Madison and at least 5 different guys. One of them was married. 2 were sending her money. All of them were convinced they were the only one. I didn't even make it through half before I had to stop. My hands were shaking. There was one video that sent a bolt of nausea through me. Madison was in our kitchen, wearing nothing but one of my shirts, walking around with her phone propped up like she was hosting a damn cooking show. Only she wasn't cooking. She was talking to someone. Whispering things. Filthy things. Laughing about how my husband's too dumb to notice. She said that. Too dumb to notice. That was the moment something inside me died. Just turned to ash and blew away. It wasn't just the betrayal anymore. It was the joy she took in it. The pride. And then the last file hit like a freight train. A PDF. Flight receipts. Bank statements. One to a 5-star hotel in Dubai. Another to Cancun. Money wired from her joint account, our account, to someone named Darren Pierce. Darren. That name stuck. Not because I knew it, but because it was listed next to a note she left in one transfer. For the weekend. Don't tell Nate. He thinks I'm in Miami with Claire. That weekend? That was the same weekend my grandfather died. I had cried on the phone with her. She told me she couldn't fly out for the funeral because her friend had a medical emergency. She was in Cancun. With Darren. My vision blurred. I almost slammed the laptop shut. But no. I needed to see all of it. Every last dirty message. Every lie. Every dollar she stole. I sat there until the sun came up. And then I made a choice. I emailed myself everything. Copied the folder 3 times, cloud, hard drive, USB. Then I messaged Madison. We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe where you found me. Noon. She replied 10 minutes later. You finally ready to come home? I didn't answer. When she walked in, she looked like nothing had happened. Tight jeans, white blouse, sunglasses perched on her head like some influencer who didn't just destroy a life. She smiled, slid into the seat across from me. I missed you, she said. I didn't speak. I just opened the laptop and turned it toward her. Her face fell so fast I thought her skull cracked. Click. Photo. Click. Message. Click. The video. She reached out to slam it shut. I grabbed her wrist. Hard. Don't touch it, I said, my voice like stone. You went through my stuff? You lied. Cheated. Stole. Don't you dare talk about trust. She yanked her arm away, face burning red. You don't understand what it's like being with someone who makes you feel invisible. I laughed. Loud. A bitter, broken sound. Invisible? I gave you everything. My time. My loyalty. My damn bank account. And you spat on it. Because it wasn't enough, she snapped. There it was. Raw. Ugly. I needed excitement. You were safe, Nate. Boring. Predictable. You were never going to be enough for me. That was the first honest thing she'd said in months. I stared at her for a long time. Let the silence crawl over both of us. Then I pulled out a folder from my bag and dropped it on the table. Divorce papers. Her hands trembled when she opened it. You're serious? I'm free, I said. And you? You're going to spend the rest of your life chasing something that doesn't exist. She laughed, but there was no strength in it. You'll be back. No. You just don't know what it feels like when a man truly lets go. I stood, left some euros on the table, and walked away. And this time, I was the one who didn't look back. A week later, I was sitting on a balcony in Istanbul, drinking strong black tea from a chipped glass, watching the city breathe beneath the call to prayer. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't checking my phone. I wasn't waiting for her name to pop up. I wasn't replaying arguments in my head or thinking about what I could have done differently. I was just still. It felt unnatural at first, like I'd left part of my body behind in the wreckage of our marriage. But that feeling started to fade, slowly, like smoke clearing from a burned-out room. Until the message came. An email. No subject line. Just a short sentence. I hope you're proud of what you did. Attached, a photo of her crying on a couch. Dramatic lighting. Probably staged. I didn't even open it. I archived it. But a day later, another one came. Then another. Each one more manipulative than the last. You think they'll want you when they find out you abandoned your wife overseas? You'll regret this when you're old and alone. Nathan, I'm pregnant. That last one? That one made me pause. I stared at it for a long time. My stomach didn't sink. My heart didn't race. I just felt still. Too still. Then I typed back. DNA test. She didn't reply. 3 days later, she messaged again. Never mind. False alarm. Of course it was. She was flailing. Desperate. Pulling whatever string she thought might wrap itself around my neck and tug me back into her hell. But I was done. I'd spoken with a lawyer. Transferred what little was left in our joint accounts to a separate one. Froze the credit cards. Blocked her on everything except email, kept that open. Because she was stupid enough to put things in writing that could bury her later. And then, one night, I got a call. Private number. I let it ring. But then my phone buzzed again. A voicemail. I hit play. Her voice was different. Not angry. Not seductive. Just cold. Thought you should know. Claire's in the hospital. OD'd. Guess leaving you behind wasn't as funny as we thought. Click. No, how are you? No apology. No remorse. Just another grenade thrown over her shoulder, expecting it to make me crumble. It didn't. I sat there for a long time, staring out at the Bosphorus, thinking about how I ever ended up with someone like her. How I ignored the early warnings. The little lies. The moments when she twisted my words to make me feel like the crazy one. She was good at that. She was great at that. But no more. I booked a ticket the next day. Not to go home. I didn't have a home anymore. I flew to Lisbon. Then to Porto. I took trains through villages with names I couldn't pronounce, ate food I didn't recognize, and slept like a damn baby for the first time in years. And everywhere I went, I kept hearing her voice. Not the cruel parts. The fake parts. The "I love you" she used to whisper when she needed something. The tears she turned on like a faucet. The way she kissed me after lying through her teeth. It haunted me for a while. But eventually, it just became background noise. Like static. And then silence. And I realized that silence wasn't scary anymore. It was freedom. She kept sending emails. I kept ignoring them. Every now and then I'd glance at a subject line and laugh to myself. You'll never find someone like me again. God, I hope not. That was the point. You don't climb out of a burning building just to look for a similar one. You build something new. Something that doesn't smell like smoke and broken trust. And I wasn't in a hurry. Let her rot in her own mess. Let her wear that fake smile for the next guy until he too learns what I had to learn the hard way. As for me, I was already halfway gone. And for the first time since she laughed and drove off in Italy, I felt alive. Lisbon was good to me. It was the kind of place that made you forget people like Madison even existed. Cobblestone streets, warm pastries, strangers who didn't ask about your past. I got a job under the table at a little bookshop near the Alfama district. The owner barely spoke English, but he liked that I didn't talk much. He left me alone, paid me in cash, and let me read whatever I wanted between customers. Every now and then, I'd walk to the cliffs, watch the sun crash into the Atlantic, and wonder what she was doing. But those thoughts didn't sting like before. They felt distant, like memories from a life I no longer belonged to. Until the letter came. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter. Handwritten. No return address. I knew it was from her the moment I saw the slanted cursive. Madison always had neat, almost obsessive handwriting. Even her lies looked beautiful on paper. I held it for a long time before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it into the sea, let it dissolve like all the excuses she'd ever given. But another part, the one that hadn't fully closed the book, needed to know. It was 3 pages long. She wrote like she was writing a memoir. The opening line? I hope someday you'll understand why I did what I did. That was her version of an apology. She went on about how she lost herself, how she felt invisible, how she made mistakes, but never stopped loving me. She wrote about therapy, about Claire's breakdown, about how the family was falling apart without me. There was no mention of the affairs. No mention of Darren, or Jace, or the guy who paid her rent in Dubai. Just vague metaphors and self-pity masked as introspection. The last line? If you ever want to come back, I'm still here. As if I was on some soul-searching journey and would eventually crawl back to the wreckage she called love. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and slid it into the bookstore's old fireplace. Watched it curl into black flakes. That night, I met someone. Her name was Anna. She was quiet, sharp-eyed, with the kind of calm that didn't demand attention. She came into the shop looking for a book on photography. I gave her mine, a worn copy of On Photography by Susan Sontag, with underlines and scribbles in the margins. She read every one of my notes. Came back the next day to talk about them. It wasn't love. Not right away. It wasn't even flirting. It was real conversation. Simple, grounded, with no performance. She never once asked why I was in Portugal. She didn't need to. Some people carry their pain like a badge. Others wear it like an old scar. She recognized mine without needing the backstory. Weeks passed. We had wine by the water. Took slow walks through alleys that smelled like grilled sardines and history. She told me her story, a divorce, a betrayal, a quiet escape. No theatrics. No tears. Just facts. We didn't try to fix each other. We just listened. One night, I told her everything. About Madison. About Italy. Greece. The lies. The betrayal. The woman who laughed as she drove away from me like I was disposable. Anna didn't interrupt. She didn't gasp or judge. When I finished, she just said, "And yet, here you are." Those 4 words did more for me than any apology Madison could have given. Because I was still here. Not as the man she broke. Not as the fool she played. But as someone who walked through the fire and didn't come out looking for revenge, just clarity. Madison would probably keep trying. She'd send more letters. More guilt. More noise. Let her. I was done answering. Some ghosts weren't meant to be banished. Just ignored until they forgot your name. And mine? It was no longer tied to hers. I had a new story now. And this time, I was writing it alone. Or maybe not. But either way, I held the pen. Fall crept into Lisbon with a quiet chill. The kind that didn't bite, just whispered that summer was over and something new was coming. The tourists thinned. The streets got quieter. Mornings came with fog curling around the tiled rooftops, and the bookshop felt cozier than ever. Anna started bringing pastries with her when she visited. Sometimes she stayed and read for hours. Sometimes we just talked. And other times, we didn't say much at all. We didn't need to. I still had nights where Madison invaded my dreams, twisted versions of her, smiling through lies, laughing like she did that day she left me on the side of the road in Italy. But when I woke up, Anna was often the first person I thought of. That shift, subtle as it was, meant everything. One day, around closing time, a customer came in. American. Loud. Flashy watch, leather jacket, cocky walk. I knew his type before he opened his mouth. "You Nathan?" he asked. My hands froze on the stack of books I was shelving. "Who's asking?" He smirked. "Name's Gavin. Friend of Madison's." Of course he was. "I'm not interested," I said, turning back to the shelf. "She said you might say that. Also said you'd probably pretend to be over her." I turned slowly. He looked like he expected me to swing. I didn't. "She sent you to try and scare me?" I asked. "Nah, man." I volunteered. "You her new boyfriend?" He shrugged. "One of them. She said you've been running around Europe playing Wounded Poet or some sh*t. Thought I'd see for myself." I stared at him, long and quiet. Then I stepped closer. "You want to know the truth?" I asked. "Shoot." "She's hollow inside. You'll realize that too, eventually. Probably when she's sleeping with your friend or draining your savings or whispering some made-up sob story about her childhood." He blinked, like the words stung more than he expected. "She's not the villain," he muttered. "No," I agreed. "She's worse. She's the kind that convinces you you're the bad guy while she burns your life down." He looked away, jaw tightening. Maybe he already knew. Maybe he was hoping I'd tell him he was wrong. I didn't. "Tell her," I said, stepping around him toward the door. "This is the last time anyone connected to her shows up in my world. Next time, I won't be this calm." I held the door open. He walked out without another word. I didn't hear from her again. Not through letters. Not through boyfriends. Not even the dramatic late-night voicemail she used to leave like she was auditioning for an award. It was over. Really over. That night, I closed the shop early and walked with Anna along the waterfront. She could tell something had shifted in me, but she didn't ask. She just wrapped her arm through mine and kept walking. At one point, she stopped. "What is it?" I asked. She looked out at the lights dancing on the water. "You ever think about what would have happened if she hadn't left you in Italy?" I smiled. A sad kind of smile. "Yeah, all the time. And every time I do, I realize I might have still been with her. Still blind. Still thinking loyalty could fix a hurricane." Anna nodded. "And now I know better." She reached into her bag, pulled out a small wrapped package. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a pin. Old, polished wood, heavy in the hand. I saw you staring at it in the antique shop last week, she said. I looked at her. Really looked. There were no games behind her eyes. No tricks. No agenda. Just warmth. You told me you're writing again, she added, but I didn't see you buy one. So I figured. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. But in that moment, I realized the irony. Madison spent years pretending to love me while slowly eroding who I was. And Anna? She said less in 3 months than Madison did in one argument, and yet, somehow, she brought parts of me back to life I thought were gone forever. It wasn't about forgetting what happened. It was about understanding that surviving wasn't the end. It was the beginning. I started writing again that night. And this time, it wasn't about her. It was about me. The pages came easily now. Not like before, not like the bitter, rage-soaked rants I used to pour into my journal when the pain was fresh and loud. This was different. This was deliberate. Focused. My words weren't bleeding anymore. They were building something. Some nights I'd write for hours, the pen Anna gave me gliding across old paper like it was born for it. Sometimes I wrote about what happened. Other times, I wrote about people I made up. Men like me broken, bruised, but not defeated. Men who got back up. And Anna, she became the quiet center of all of it. She never asked to read a single word, never hovered behind me while I wrote. But she'd bring me coffee, light a candle near the window, sit across the room, sketching, reading, just being there. Her presence was its own kind of healing. Then one morning, I woke up to find an envelope on my doorstep. No handwriting this time. Just my name. Inside, a check, a large one, drawn from the account I once shared with Madison, and a short typed note. A settlement. Considerate closure. No name. No signature. But it was her. I didn't need confirmation. I stared at the check for a long time. It was more than fair. Hell, it was generous, especially coming from someone who used to argue over every decimal. Part of me wondered why. Why now? Why not fight like she always did? Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear. Maybe she just wanted to be done, for real this time. I walked into town, cashed the check, and opened a new account under a name she'd never find. Then I took Anna out that night. We didn't go anywhere fancy. Just a small rooftop with soft music and grilled octopus and wine that tasted like someone had kissed the bottle before sealing it. Halfway through dinner, she looked at me and said, "You're lighter." I raised an eyebrow. "Lighter?" She nodded. "In your face. Your voice. It's like you're finally breathing." I sat back and looked out at the city. Lanterns flickered in the wind. Somewhere below us, a guitarist strummed a melancholic tune that made the whole place feel like a dream. You ever think about how much time we waste holding on to people who don't even want to be held? I asked. Anna didn't answer. She just reached across the table and took my hand. No performance. No show. Just warmth. We stayed there for hours, talking about nothing, laughing about the shape of clouds and the awkwardness of first kisses and how life never unfolds the way we expect, but somehow, sometimes, it unfolds better. Later that night, back in my flat, I lit a fire and sat with that old pen again. But this time, I didn't write about Madison. I didn't write about revenge or heartbreak or what-ifs. I started writing a book, a real one, about a man who was left behind in a foreign country, who thought he was broken, who thought it was over. And then, slowly, he found himself again, not through someone else, but through his own damn fight to stand back up. And maybe, just maybe, someone like Anna came along too. Not to fix him, but to sit beside him while he did the work. Madison had been a storm. But Anna? Anna was the quiet morning after, when the sky is still gray, but the ground feels solid again. That was the difference. And finally, I understood the lesson in all of it. Pain wakes you up, but peace is what keeps you alive. Winter settled over Lisbon like a hush. Not the kind of brutal cold that bites your fingers, but a quieter stillness, breath showing in the air, sea winds that slipped through alleyways, and the kind of silence that made you reflect whether you wanted to or not. The bookshop was slower now. Fewer tourists. Locals mostly. Old men with yellowed fingers thumbing through politics, young couples searching for poetry to impress each other. I liked the pace. I liked the quiet. My book, or whatever it was becoming, was halfway done. I wrote almost every night, longhand. Pages stacked up on the desk by the window, a mix of truth and fiction, blurred and folded into something that finally made sense. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about me. About what happens when the identity you wrapped around another person burns to ash, and you have to find out what's underneath. And through it all, Anna stayed. She never tried to make the pain disappear. She never rushed my process or asked for a future I wasn't ready to plan. She was just present. A warm hand, a steady voice, a laugh that made the air feel softer. Until the knock on the door. It was late. Rain had started. A soft drizzle tapping against the window like fingertips. I opened the door, and there she was. Madison, hair wet, eyes hollow, a suitcase beside her. That same snakeskin bag she always took on her business trips. She looked thinner, paler, but still had that same posture, like the world owed her something. "Hi," she said. I didn't move, didn't say a word. She pulled the suitcase closer. I didn't know where else to go. "That's not my problem. I'm not here to fight," she whispered. I thought maybe we could talk. Talk. That word, after all this time, it like glass shattering underfoot. She stepped forward. I didn't let her in. "You know you left me in another country, right?" I said, voice calm. She looked down. "You know you lied to me. Slept with other people. Sent men to find me. Tried to guilt me with fake pregnancies and settlements, like my pain had a price tag." "I know," she said, voice trembling. "I know. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't know where else to go." "You have a million people," I snapped. "Darren, Jace, Gavin, Claire. The army of guys you collected while married to me." Her eyes met mine, and for a split second, I saw something. Not guilt, not sorrow, just panic. Like a con artist whose last trick failed. "I made mistakes," she said. "But I'm still your wife, "No, you're not." The silence between us stretched. "I loved you, Nathan," she said quietly. "No," I said. "You loved control. You loved what I gave you. And when that wasn't enough, you tore it down." The rain started coming harder. She shivered, hugged herself, waiting for the part where I'd cave, where I'd invite her in, offer a towel, a drink, a second chance. But that version of me? He was dead in Italy. I reached behind the door, grabbed her suitcase, stepped out, and set it beside her. "You're not my responsibility anymore." She didn't move, just stared at me like she was trying to figure out what game I was playing. "There's a hotel 2 blocks down. Tell them Nathan sent you. They'll give you a room for the night." "You're really going to leave me in the rain?" she asked, voice shaking. I didn't answer. Because the truth was, no matter how wet she got, how cold, how miserable, it would never match what she did to me. I closed the door, locked it, turned around, back against the wood. Anna stood there. She didn't ask who it was. She already knew. "I didn't let her in," I said quietly. "I know," she said, walking over, slipping her hand into mine. "That's how I know you're not her." And just like that, the final string snapped. The last little thread Madison held on me gone. I slept deeply that night. No dreams. No ghosts. Just the sound of rain and the breathing of someone who never needed to lie to love me. A month passed. Madison never came back. Not to the door. Not to the city. Not to my thoughts, not really. She became a shadow at the edge of memory. A lesson that had already been learned. A wound that finally stopped bleeding. Anna and I kept things slow. Deliberate. No labels. No pressure. Just moments. Breakfasts that turned into long walks. Silences that felt like trust, not discomfort. I started cooking again. Reading out loud again. Smiling without realizing I was doing it. One morning, she brought me a notebook. Leather-bound. Blank. Heavy. "For the final draft," she said, handing it over like it was sacred. I didn't say anything. Just opened it. Ran my fingers over the pages. "You think it's ready?" I asked. "I think you are." So I started copying the book, longhand. Not typing. Not editing. Just rewriting it, word for word, from the beginning. The story of a man who was left in a foreign town by the woman he trusted most, and how he never went back. How he rebuilt himself, not out of spite, but out of necessity. There was no revenge arc. No dramatic confrontation. Just quiet transformation. But around page 38, I paused. I wrote a sentence, then scratched it out. Wrote it again, slower. Some people confuse love with possession. But real love isn't a cage, it's a lighthouse. You can leave, you can fall apart, and if it's still love, it'll guide you back without punishment. I didn't know where that came from, but it felt true. One evening, Anna came over with a bottle of wine and a worn-out Polaroid camera. We sat on the rooftop under a navy sky, taking blurry pictures of each other between sips. She caught me mid-laugh. I caught her mid-yawn. The prints came out crooked, flawed, real. I pinned one to the wall of my writing room the next morning, The one where she's not looking at the camera, just slightly turned, eyes closed, wind in her hair. The kind of photo that feels like a secret. That same day, a letter arrived. Different handwriting. This time from Claire, Madison's sister. It was short, handwritten, smeared a little, like it had been written fast. I'm not defending her. She's not well. She's lost more than she's telling anyone. But I saw her last week, and she mentioned you. She doesn't know how to be alone, Nathan. She never did. But you made it. Just thought you should hear that. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I folded the letter and tucked it into the back of the new notebook. Not because I needed it, but because it reminded me how far I'd come. One day, I took Anna to the beach, the same beach where I first arrived in Greece after Madison left me behind. I hadn't been back since. We sat in the same spot, on the rocks, watching waves crash and scatter foam across the shore. I told her the full story. The argument. The laughter as they drove off. The weeks alone. The first night I almost gave up. Anna didn't cry. She didn't speak much. She just rested her head on my shoulder. You know, I whispered, I used to think if I was just a little better, a little stronger, maybe she wouldn't have done what she did. Anna looked up at me. That's what they do, Nate. They make you carry their sickness. I nodded, but I dropped it. Somewhere between Positano and Lisbon. I dropped all of it. She smiled. And that smile? That smile was everything Madison never gave me. That night, I finished the last page of the book. Wrote the end. And meant it. Not just for the story, but for the part of my life where I ever believed I needed someone like Madison to feel complete. I was whole. Now, finally. The manuscript sat on the table for 3 days before I touched it again. I'd walk past it, glance at the leather cover, and feel the weight of it, not just the pages, but everything inside. The story wasn't just mine anymore. It had grown into something bigger. A map of where I'd been, where I broke, where I started over. Anna read it first. I didn't plan for her to. One night while I was out, she stayed behind and found it open. When I came home, she was still sitting there, cross-legged on the floor, halfway through chapter 11, eyes glassy. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to start. I couldn't stop. I nodded. I didn't mind. If anyone deserved to read it, it was her. I kept thinking. She whispered, you should publish this. I wrote it for me. Exactly, she said. That's why people will want it. I didn't argue. I let the idea simmer, like everything else. A week later, I emailed it to a small indie publisher I'd admired for years. No expectations. No pressure. Just a file and a quiet hope that maybe, somehow, someone else would see the value in the wreckage I'd turned into words. They responded in 2 days. Said it was raw, honest, haunting, that it felt uncomfortably real in the best way. They wanted to talk, discuss next steps, see what I had in mind for a title. I stared at that email longer than I should have. Then I looked out the window at the Lisbon skyline and whispered the name to myself like a secret. Left in Italy. Anna smiled when I told her. It's perfect, she said. It's where the story began. And where it ended. No, she corrected gently. Where you ended. And something better started. I thought about that a lot in the weeks that followed. We didn't rush anything, not the book, not the relationship, not the future. I moved into a slightly bigger flat. Anna brought over more books than clothes. We still kept our spaces, our rhythms. But there were toothbrushes in each other's bathrooms now. Shared mugs. Shared mornings. One afternoon, while reorganizing the kitchen, Anna held up a dusty glass bottle I hadn't touched in months. You keeping this? She asked, turning it in the light. Inside was a piece of driftwood I'd picked up the day Madison left me. I don't even know why I kept it. Maybe I thought it was symbolic. Maybe I thought I'd throw it in her face one day. Maybe I just wasn't ready to let go. Burn it, I said. She didn't ask why. She just nodded. That night, we lit it in the fireplace. The wood cracked, popped, disappeared. No ceremony, no drama, just release. And it felt good. Better than I imagined. Madison didn't reach out again. I think somewhere along the way, she realized I was done playing the game. That whatever power she used to have over me was gone, stripped by every truth I'd uncovered, every boundary I'd drawn, every piece of myself I reclaimed. I still think about her sometimes. Not with anger. Not even sadness. Just curiosity. Like looking at an old scar and remembering how you got it, but feeling nothing when you touch it. Time does that. But healing? Healing is the part you fight for. And I fought. Hard. So now, when people ask what the book is about, I just tell them. It's about a man who got left behind. But what I don't tell them is the truth buried between the lines. That getting left behind was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it forced him to finally find himself.